Hello, welcome to the Winning Balance podcast. Today is going to be a little bit different than other podcasts because I am doing a solo podcast. This is going to be a casual conversation, something that I've been wanting to share with my audience. I hesitated sharing this with anyone because I feel like I personally still have so much room to grow in my life. But thinking of how far I've actually come, especially from my rock bottom, I felt like it would be selfish if I did not share this. So that's the purpose of today's podcast, is just sharing with you the 3 habits that have helped me go from literally a failed business, 40 grand in credit card debt, to being in the top 0.5% of income for my age. I'm 29 years old, just about 30. And I have grown my business tremendously the last 3 years, and thankfully, and a lot of it has to do with these 3 habits that I'm going to talk about. And I'll just go over them in a high level and then dive into them individually. Again, these have changed my life. I know that they can change your life too. So, stay with me to the end, and hopefully there's some nuggets that you can apply to your life. The first one being revenue generating activities are not negotiable. We're going to dive into a lot more about what that means, but that's number 1. Number 2, starting your day with confidence, hence morning routine. And I'll dive into that one further, why I nerd out about that and get hyped. You're going to hear that passion in my freaking voice talking about my morning routine, because when it's on, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I can freaking take over the world. And when it's off, I feel like hunkering down under my rock like Patrick Starr. So you're going to hear what I do and why I do it. Number 3 is thinking about the 5-year version of myself and acting like that today. More manifestation. Tony Robbins has been absolutely massive in how I think in terms of this habit. So those are the 3 habits. Let's dive into them, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, boring revenue generating activities are not negotiable. I'm going to relate this to the real estate industry, but I promise you, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are in sales to any capacity, this is extremely, extremely applicable. And honestly, even if you are in other industries, there are ways that you can apply this. Revenue generating activities are simply, when it comes to my business, the most important thing of my day, most important part about my week, right? So from the very beginning of my success on the agent side, success on the real estate side, I owe a lot of it to tracking a measurable indicator on revenue generating activities. And hopefully I don't need to dive too much into what a revenue generating activity is. It's simply an activity that you do that will generate income for yourself. If you're in sales, revenue generated activities, cold calls, door knocking, blah, 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 right? Something that produces revenue, produces income. So for myself, step 1 was picking a measurable indicator, and that was, for me, conversations in a week. And I picked 100 conversations a week. When I'm training my agents, guys, this is the most simple I can break down success. If you cannot figure out how to get 100 conversations in a week, I cannot teach you the tactical side of real estate. I don't know how to teach you on converting to the next stage if you're not filling the top of your funnel. So for real estate, what that looks like is conversations go to appointments set. Appointments set go to appointments met. Appointments met go to buyers or sellers signed. And then buyers and sellers signed go to under contract. Under contract goes to close. Every single tidbit from that funnel has different scripts, different talk tracks that can increase your conversion. But if you're not filling the top conversations, I cannot help you, right? If you're doing 20 conversations a week, then how am I going to teach you how to get more appointments set? And if you're falling short on your appointment set, how am I going to teach you to convert them to actually meeting that appointments on appointment set? The funnel gets shorter and shorter, right? So filling the top of your funnel is crucial. Now, the mentality of this, going back to revenue generating activities. If you guys have read the book, Jocko Willink, Relentless, being 100% responsible is the concept, right? So when it comes, once you pick your metric, your measurable indicator, mine has been 100 real estate conversations a week. You need to be 100% responsible on doing whatever the hell it takes to get there. No excuses. If you are sick one day, you better be working twice as hard the next day. If you get 5 conversations one day because your voice is so hoarse, you lost your voice, well, you better be texting people to catch up or working extra hours the next day. And if by Friday you're at 80 conversations, guess what? You're working on Saturday. 0 excuses to hitting your revenue generating activities. This is the mentality that took me from a failed business to a thriving real estate business today. The cool part about picking conversations, we'll use real estate as another example, or as continuing the example, is there's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate. You've heard that before. Same thing goes to prospecting. How I generate conversations is going to be completely different than how person B generates conversations. And the cool part is you can make them based off your personality. I have people on my team, agents on my team, that came from the door-to-door sales side and they knocked doors. I knocked doors on my mission and I hated it. I don't want to do it. I did it selling Jesus. I'm not going to do it selling real estate. That's just my rule. I'm done. I retired from the doors. But guess what? I am a menace. I am an assassin on the phone. So I have built my real estate career cold calling, right? Now, luckily, my second tier, you can pick usually 3 or 4 legs of your stool on how you're going to prospect, right? So for mine, it used to be cold calling, social media, and maybe you pick one more. I can't remember what it was at the very beginning. But those legs of your stool can change as you develop. I haven't cold called in the last 2 years because my social media has taken a large majority of that toll on my lead flow. Also networking, right? Networking has replaced a lot of what I used to do for prospecting in today's day and age. There should be 0 excuses on how you're hitting 100 conversations a day because there's so many different ways you can do it. Open houses, cold calling, door knocking, events, creating your own events, going to other people's events. It goes on and on and on. Pick 3 or 4 that you're going to become a master at to hit your revenue generating activities and to hit the measurable indicator that you set for yourself. If you're selling tech sales, you should still have measurable indicators based on your target audience, right? So hopefully that makes sense. That is habit number 1. Habit number 2, starting your day with confidence. Goodness, guys, this one is so massive in my life. Looking back, I'm a very, very disciplined journaler. Is that a word, journaler? I have been journaling very consistently for the last 10 years of my life. It started as a habit on my mission, and I've been pretty consistent with it since. And looking back on my journal entries, I know how important my morning routine is. For me specifically, it's crucial. And so I wrote this down into summarizing why it means so much for me. But setting a morning routine, no matter how long or short it is, what it does is it gives me confidence starting my day. And a lot of what confidence is, a lot of what the opposite of anxiety is doing what you say you're going to do. So if I tell myself I'm going to wake up, I'm going to lift, I'm going to stretch, I'm going to have a healthy breakfast, meditate, journal, read. If I do all those things that I say I'm going to do, going to work, I feel like literal Superman. Leave the Adderall at home. I feel like I can shoot laser beams through my eyes after a good morning routine. There's science behind it. There's biology behind it. When I get a good pump, when I am thinking about my mindfulness, which is the meditation part, when I'm reflecting on my gratitude, that's the journaling part. And when I get to read for 30 minutes, going back to the mindfulness, I come very even-keeled to the work atmosphere in that confidence, guys. So I'll go through what I did again for my morning routine. Everyone has different variations. Mine's changed throughout the years, but I wake up, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and get all this done. I'm going to be honest, guys. Lately, it's been 5:45 on a good day. 6:30 is more typical, even 7 a.m., right? So I don't want to pretend like I got this dialed to the Andy Elliott 5:15 every day, or your derogatory term insert there. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So I'm waking up early so I can get it done before my work day, and then I'm getting a solid lift in. I used to do lazy workouts because it's so early, but I realized that my mental health is so much better when I do a lift that pushes me mentally. So whether that's that couple extra reps or 5 extra pounds just to push you, get your sweat on, make you feel like you did something hard, has been a big game changer for me. Stretching, I don't know what it does for my brain. I don't know the background biologically on this one, but I feel so much better when I stretch. My posture, if I don't, I look like a damn dinosaur. So I gotta make sure I'm stretching because I sit all day in my work. So healthy breakfast, how it looks like for me now, and I've had different variations of this, especially if my stomach's crappy. I'll do all like whole foods, avocado, go that route, eggs. But besides that, my breakfast every single day doesn't change. Like 95% of the time, I have the same breakfast every single day. It's 10 ounces of soy milk, a quarter cup of dried oats, a full banana, whey protein, PB Fit, my creatine, and I call it a day. After my breakfast, then it goes more toward the mindfulness. So I'm calm going into work, and that's meditating for at least 10 minutes. I used to do the Calm app. Now I'm on YouTube Premium and just look something up there. Tony Robbins has a priming exercise that's absolutely phenomenal. And then I go into my journaling. This is huge on gratitude, affirmations, making sure I'm in the right headspace, and then capping it off with reading. That's usually 15 to 30 minutes. I've done I'm always nonfiction, but I try and bounce back from like historic stuff or history type to self-improvement. Sometimes if it's all self-improvement, it gets me anxious before my day, especially if I read before bed on top of it. So I'm reading about the 1929 stock market crash, and I'm a nerd, so I love reading about that stuff, and it allows me to calm down a little bit. Everyone's different. That's my morning routine. I have an Excel sheet that shows winning my day, and I have every single thing in here on my morning routine that I can physically check off on that Excel sheet that helps me feel like I've already won my day before I enter the workforce. And I'd have one check mark after that. That was 20 conversations a day. So if I did all those things, then I felt like I won. I will have a copy of that Excel sheet for you guys in the show notes if you want that. It's been a game changer for me. Just make a copy and you can edit it for yourself. And that's habit number 2. Now, habit number three, that's absolutely game changer, been an absolute game changer for me, is thinking about the 5, even 10-year version of myself and acting like that now. Going back to Tony Robbins, this is who I'm modeling this after. I had one of my mentors, Casey Baugh, who spoke highly of this. And through all my mentorship, this one's been extremely influential for me because I get to visualize where I want to be in 5-10 years. And when I say visualize, you hear that tacky manifestation verbiage, blah, blah, blah. And guys, before I started doing it, I'd call it tacky too. I'd call it voodoo, whatever you want to say. But it's been a game changer. I can close my eyes and visualize where I want to be in 10 years. And Tony Robbins goes through this practice of visualization, but going through all 5 senses: touch, feel, hear, blah, 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 right? So where I want to be in 10 years, I want to feel the fine grained leather of my Audi R8. I want to hear my kids playing in my pool. I want to hear a waterfall in my backyard with trees lining on the east bench. I want to hear a pure golf shot of like all these different things, right? Like this is how I visualize where I want to be in 10 years. So I know the exact direction that I'm going. And it also allows me to work backwards on what I'm saying yes to, what I'm saying no to in my life. Now, a big example of this is, again, going back to Casey Baugh, he said, one of the best things that you can do in my shoes right now is be surrounded around people you want to be like, who's 5-10 years ahead of you. And he mentioned one of the best ways you can do that is joining a country club. I was like, well, yeah, that's always been one of my goals, but maybe 10 years from now, like I don't have 50, 60 grand to drop on an initiation fee. Like I had the money, but I thought this would be better spent on an investment property or blah, 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 right? So anyways, Casey challenged my thinking on that, saying that the ROI behind a country club will be far better than an investment property, just training how I think. So I found out it was $65K for the initiation, talked to my wife about it, put on my sales cap and went to work with the wifey, painted her the picture of the amenities for her, the pool, blah, 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 but more so the importance of how I viewed it in my life and where I think it could get me. And it wasn't like I was pitching people on the golf course. That was not my intention. It's just seeing how these people think, people that I respect that are much further along from me. And after a year being in this country club, it's done exactly that. I've talked to some ultra wealthy people, but more importantly than the money, people that are grounded, that value their family, that value the people they are around, and their contribution phase is something that I genuinely look up to. So that's paid its dividends far, far beyond what I thought it would be. And I completely agree that the ROI being there has been much, much better than it would be on a rental property. So, and it's just the beginning, right? So that's an example of what I've done to think about the 5-10 year version of myself and acting now on that. Another look at that is I want to be buying commercial real estate full time in the next 5-10 years, right? So what can I do to start acting like that now? Well, it doesn't mean quitting residential real estate. It doesn't mean getting rid of all my clients. It doesn't mean firing my assistant. It means getting closer and closer to that goal and acting like that now, right? So things that I've done is I'm analyzing a lot more commercial deals. I paid 16 grand to join Commercial Academy, which I've heard from multiple people is a phenomenal mastermind that will teach you the ropes on commercial real estate. So it's not delaying the future version of yourself. A lot of people say, oh, I would love to do commercial real estate in 5 years, but they leave it at that. They don't do anything. They don't attach any action steps to doing that. So I mentor a lot of people. I mentor the agents on my team, and I've had different mentees through the years. I've been in real estate 8 years now, so little conversations here and there. But that's one thing that I point to a lot is, okay, you're doing good now. A lot of your goals, a lot of your action items are based on survival. It's how can I make 100K this year? How can I like buy rental property this year? And it's very survivor based. And what I challenge them is, yeah, that's like important. You should continue doing that, but I'm going to challenge you to put 10, 20% of your time towards where you want to be in 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, or else how are you going to grow, right? So we have one of my agents on my team now that's absolutely killing it. His name is Jackson Worsland. He's done 20 deals by now in his first 8 months in the industry, has zero real estate background, came from door to door, and has worked harder than anyone I've seen come into the industry, besides my partner, probably Cooper Murphy. Those two are just like workhorses, and they figure it out. But and he's making a lot of money. He's 21 years old, making multiple six figures. He will this year. And he did that last year in Pest too, multiple six figures. But this kid, it's really hard to coach someone that's having success to that level, because I'm like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing. But the one thing that I challenge him on is, what does 10-year Jackson, what do you like, tell me about your life? And he was like, well, I want to be full-time real estate. I want to do this. And I'm like, no, like I challenged him, like, let's visualize it. What do you want to hear? What do you want to be? He's talking in deeper into our one-on-one. He's talking about the roar of a boat, the lake, people having fun on the boat that he owns, having a beautiful wife, beautiful family, and buying multifamily real estate and all these different things, right? So I'm challenging him, and I say, well, what are you doing right now to buy multifamily real estate? Because most of what he is doing is single family creative finance. And anyway, so we put together a plan for him. Guys, I kid you not, within 2 weeks, Jackson implemented a lot of this strategy of manifestation and visualizing where you want to be in 5-10 years. And he signs an ERS for 3% on a $4.9 million 18-plex. Think about that. That's like close to 150 grand in commission that this guy just added to his life from this exact habit that I'm talking about. And I guarantee, and he's already done multifamily deals since this conversation, but that's a real life example of how you can implement this habit and carry it out. And I've had so many examples in my own life. I'll give you a brief one too. I have this, my goal setting strategy is I write a letter to myself 2 years from now. I say, hey, Tanner, this is your past self. It's tacky, I know, but it's powerful. I say, I hope you've humbled yourself. I hope you have less pride. I hope you're doing this. I hope that by this time, and I'll give you a specific example. I'm writing this in 2024, 2021, after I had just failed miserably at real estate. I'm talking to my future self 2 years from then, and I say, I hope you don't have a boss. I hope you're back to full-time real estate. I hope you're hosting events that bring countless people in your sphere. I hope you realize that as you gain more popularity and as you gain more influence, that this doesn't make you any cooler, but it allows you to affect more people's lives. That was freaking powerful. I was nowhere near any of that at that time. I was rock bottom, like about to get divorced, about to like lose a lot of stuff, right? Like true rock bottom, if you've heard me talk about that. But that letter to myself, everything, like 95% of what I said in that letter came true. I think the only thing that I fell short on was my cash flow goal. I wanted to be at $6,000, and I think I ended up being like 4,500 in 2023 when I wrote that, or when the letter came due. So going back to that, I write a 2-year letter to myself, and then my annual goals, my yearly goals that everyone does, are built off of that 2-year letter. My annual goals, my yearly goals, are then broke down into quarterly goals, and my quarterly goals are broke down into monthly goals and then weekly action items. So everything that I visualize, I put an action behind them, and this has helped me get to the future version of where I want to be. And this isn't just business. This is how I want to show up as a father, how I want to show up as a friend, how I want to show up as a husband, how I want to show up as a son, like being a better son, a better uncle, a better scholar, right? I dive into all these different aspects of my life because it's not just about money for me. I want to be a well-rounded person that's helping and influencing people around me. That's the last habit, guys. I dove into that one longer than I thought I would be, but really manifesting where you want to be and acting like that now has blessed my life tremendously in all the best ways. I challenge you guys to find your own version of this. What can you start acting like today to get that closer version that you want to be? Again, this is my first solo podcast for the Winning Balance, so I hope that there is some value here that I've shared, and if not, then I won't make another one. But I'd love your guys' feedback. So send it over to me. You can find me on Instagram, the Investor Tanner. LinkedIn, I post a lot at Tanner Litchfield. But yeah, let me know. Just to highlight all those habits again. Number one, let me highlight the 3 habits that helped me go from a failed business and true rock bottom in my life to a top 0.5% income for my age and a more rounded person in general. So, and that's number 1, boring revenue generating activities are non-negotiable. Number 2, starting your day with confidence, building a morning routine. And number 3 is think about the 5-year version of yourself or 10-year version of yourself and start acting like that now. Thank you guys for listening. This is the Winning Balance Podcast. Thanks for joining.